When it comes to streaming services, there's literally one for everyone. But the one I hear about the most on social media, for better or worse, is Tubi. Tubi TV is a free ad-supported streaming service with a library of over 20,000 movies and TV shows. It offers content from studios such as Paramount, Lionsgate, and MGM, and doesn't require a credit card or a login to watch. On its face, it would appear that Tubi is a legitimate option for cord cutters of all kinds and offers an alternative to expensive streaming services that want to drag us all back to the hellscape that is cable.
And why did I get invited to a meeting with a bunch of knockoffs?
Hey.
But Tubi's accessibility for DIY filmmakers, especially Black and Brown creators who want their films to reach an audience of nearly 80 million monthly users, is that the barrier for entry is somewhat non-existent. Now, as you guys know, lack of quality in Black films is something that I talk a lot about, especially because I consider what's creating this great chasm between the renaissances of Black film that's happened in previous decades to present day, where Black films can fall into a few categories, either Oscar bait, race films, or the remake of a beloved film. And I want to be clear, I am not mad at the lack of gatekeeping that actually allows people to get a massive amount of views. I benefit from the removal of barriers as I make videos on YouTube, so I can also be paid ad revenue based on the views and clicks of my content. Similarly, Tubi operates on the AVOD model, or advertising-based video on demand, where it allows filmmakers to monetize their work without the need for a subscription, making it accessible to a broader audience. The concept of filmmaking accessibility is something that I've always appreciated, but low production value, lack of technique, and limited skill or creativity is something that bothers me. But not for the reasons that you might think. Now, I've done several videos on this channel about Black cinema being the victim of diminishing quality, low returns, and poor representation since the dawn of Hollywood. A healthy dose of capitalism mixed in with systemic racism and glass ceilings makes for a poisonous media cocktail. But instead of drinking the Kool-Aid that's offered by most media, I always want to give a caveat before blaming the entire system for the problems that we see. The way that most things work in American society is based around money. How do we make it? How do we hoard it? And how do we keep other people from getting it? A lot of our global culture can also be seen replicating the have and the have-nots of American culture, whether it's the rise in consumerism or aesthetics or sex appeal as a marker of value or status. The whole idea of the programming we consume is communicating who we are and what we could or should do. And that's not a conspiracy. That is the primary purpose of media. According to National Geographic, media is the plural form of the word medium, which is a means of conveying something such as information. Media is frequently designed to influence public opinion. So people often seek out media that reinforces their own views and opinions. Think of it as a collective voice. The media is there to communicate ideas, share philosophies, or offer perspectives. Imagine if all the streaming services had their own voice. What would it sound like? Would it be loud or soft? Would it laugh a lot or seduce you just above a whisper? So like Hulu, I might consider that voice to be very loud, someone who talks a lot even if nobody is listening. It's the modern TV resource made up of sitcoms and episodics to follow over weeks or binge all in one sitting. And then when I think of Pluto, it sort of feels like your eccentric neighbor. A whole lot of random knickknacks and niche channels, but not the smoothest. Though it does house my personal favorite background noise, the 90s Nicktoons channel, which I am heavy on a rotation of Hey Arnold or Doug or Rugrats. And side note, Hey Arnold slaps as a show. Like, we need to bring that back for adults because the way I need my man Fuzzy Slippers to guide me is serious.
Fuzzy Slippers tells lies, man.
But when you think of Tubi, it's been boiled down to the low-budget haven for titles such as These Men for Everybody, He Played Me 1 and 2, and Who Made the Potato Salad? Those are all real titles.
I don't want any of that. No.
Now, I don't actually have a big issue with low-budget movies existing because I'm a newish filmmaker. My first shorts and films are not the best, like at all, but I'm very well aware that I've got a ways to go to making the cinematic experiences that I want. And Tubi doesn't lack awareness about itself. It boasts the largest streaming library for indie Black films to date, and it has started to invest in bringing even more content to the platform with some of its initiatives, such as Stubios. Ugh, I hate that name.
That's not very nice.
But Stubios is a fan-fueled studio for aspiring filmmakers and their fans. In addition to welcoming creatives from varied backgrounds into Hollywood, Stubios puts the power to greenlight content in the hands of the viewer as it seeks to bring new voices and their fans into Hollywood, providing mentorship and production resources from Issa Rae and her company Color Creative, which is actually pretty cool. I definitely submitted a pitch idea, but I have yet to hear anything. So Tubi is opening the door for folks who otherwise would not get the practice in their craft, which we love. But what we don't love is that Black movie making is marred with a myriad of challenges already. Low budgets, bad actors, no resources. Making films credible, it's just hard. Some people might say that's highbrow Negro behavior, but I don't think it's wrong to want stuff that's done well. But it's also not wrong for low-res stuff to exist. And that's really the paradox of this whole conversation, because if you're looking to celebrate Black cinema in all its forms, like I am, it sometimes feels like beggars can't be choosers. Like, do I want Black representation or nah?
It means you have a wife?
Wow. You caught a brother off guard with that one. Listen, how about we try that again?
Okay, maybe not, because maybe we just need to sit down and maybe take a class or two. But I did say that Black cinema is victim to diminishing quality, which is not entirely true. We are also the consistent consumers of this kind of lower quality work, and there's reasons for that that are both inside and outside of our control. Now, some of you may know that I'm a musical theater girly and a stage actor that transitioned into video production with a new vision for filmmaking. And though I have been on set, I've worked in front and behind the camera, I'm still a beginner, and I'm learning a lot in real time. So one thing I learned is about the Tubi submission process. Tubi pays studio partners and filmmakers for the movies submitted to their platform with ad revenue that ranges from $7 to $9 CPM, or the cost per 1,000 impressions. So high viewership determines how much the creators get paid. Easy enough, right? But that is not anything to sneeze at with the amount of people that are watching Tubi every month. So that means you would need to have a relatively low budget film and get super high viewership and not have too many middlemen such as distributors or sales agents taking a cut if you or your crew want to get a share of the profit. And so we'll talk more about the realities of the business in future videos, but just know artists tend to always get the short end of the stick when it comes to any type of revenue.
Everyone knows that.
So for those of us starting out in the amateur category, budget constraints can impact that production value. And with Tubi celebrating the highly talked about, roastable favorites, you really can't blame anyone for putting whatever the heck they want up there. The thing that makes Tubi entertaining and kind of interesting is also the thing that makes it just awful.
So you telling me you slept with her?
Don't worry about all that.
Baby, can we talk about this for a minute?
Didn't I tell you it was over?
Richard. Oh my God. What the f you made me do? Oh my God.
DIY filmmaking is something I have a ton of respect for because you have to be very scrappy when you're unknown or you're crowdfunding or you took out a small loan for your indie project. But Tubi has turned DIY into dear God why when you see the actors with no training, fight scenes that make 0 sense, bad lace fronts, and lighting that might give you seizures. And also, it's like the Black lifetime. There's just a bit of a pattern. So before I jump into the pattern, I have to talk about social media for like a hot second. Social media's impact on other forms of media cannot be overstated. It used to be that broadcast TV set the pace for all other forms of motion picture with these large crews and multiple departments and quality control that only belonged to the juggernauts in entertainment. But then people got cameras in their pocket on their phones, regular, non-industry folks sharing their opinions and broadcasting them all hours of the day and night, which might seem normal to us now, but this is a very recent phenomenon. The rise of smartphones and laptops and cameras just being super affordable, everyone can make content, which has led to a confidence in one's ability to just show up and make whatever you want. It's kind of shifted the perspective of like very polished content to needs to be relatable and lo-fi. We want our feed to feel familiar to us and accessible, or it needs to feel delusional so that we can fantasize about it privately while calling it out somewhat publicly. So Nat Geo said it best. We want media to reinforce our own views and opinions. And the quality of Tubi films versus traditional studio productions, it's not what people care about. The consumers don't care. Now, the artists, do the artists care? I mean, they're trying to get something made that they can actually get paid for. So high quality and videography and award-winning scripts, it doesn't necessarily mean your project's going to be profitable or even have anybody see you in Hollywood. So why even put in all the effort? On Tubi, all you need is a bomb thumbnail or cover, a very clickbaity title, and dialogue that is completely unbelievable, and boom, you might just have a hit. So back to that Black Lifetime pattern I mentioned, I've watched a number of Tubi movies, and I started my own little bingo card for the worst ones. So the best, worst Tubi movies will get you at least 5 of these in a row. Bad wigs, a cheating partner, a raunchy sex scene, someone gets shot, and hood rat friend that gives you bad advice. And just breaking those down, one of the movies I saw literally had all 5 plus a drug deal gone bad. So you know, it was very entertaining. And I can't say that I'm mad at that formula because I did watch the movie and it was interesting and I couldn't really look away. It was a bit of a train wreck, but I'm never going to watch that movie ever again. I just can't. I just can see though how someone gets sucked into. And so similar things happen with Lifetime movies. When I was growing up, I'm pretty sure my house was keeping Lifetime in business because the amount of women fighting back after being kidnapped or shooting their spouse or their husband slept with a nanny, like every movie had the same plot. The same could be said for Law & Order SVU. The amount of episodes that I've seen that basically follow that pattern of the most heinous crime ever by someone who's pretending to care about the victim or just a twist that we inevitably saw coming is just ridiculous. Which got me thinking, is my problem with bad movies focused on Black people actually a fair criticism? Why can't we just have terrible films in our community, just like other groups of people do? And this is actually a common argument whenever I talk about media or representation as a whole, because people want to say that we shouldn't be held to this crazy standard of fantastic art all the time. We shouldn't have to represent our entire community or our entire race. And in an ideal world, Black filmmakers could just have movies and it wouldn't be any type of niche genre. They would just be considered movies, just like most mainstream films that might have a white cast. The movies wouldn't have to be important or sacred in any way because there would be a plethora to choose from. But that is not the reality. The reality is that Black movies, even saying that Black movies as a distinction proves that these films do not get the same chance or exposure for that widespread consumption. Much of what is created will really represent what people think about Blackness, Black people, Black culture. And for better or worse, representation matters, but only if it's quality. Meaning that if this Tubi movie is the only representation that someone sees, no matter their color, they may assume that this is the reality for us as people. Now, this is a highbrow take and perhaps even elitist, but I don't believe that all of us are living the Tubi bingo card experience. Far fewer the media would have you believe. There's a diversity of experience within the Black community, which sounds crazy to even say out loud. But speaking of one experience, one of the more obvious reasons the quality of some of these Tubi films is so bad is the acting. The acting is rough because actors are not getting paid a living wage. They're not experienced. And many of the acting community or actors feel like an MLM sometimes because you get into acting, you start taking classes, you're going to auditions, you're paying for headshots, you're paying for sides, and money is just going out the door as you invest further and further for just a chance to be cast in a paying gig. So when a quality actor passes on a project because the pay's not what they need, who's going to come in to replace them? Likely somebody's cousin, their auntie, whoever wants to be in the movie and tell all their friends about it. And that's not an attack because we all have to start somewhere. And I would say this is one of the positives about Tubi. Beginners can really try their hand at the craft and still be seen. They still get footage for their reels or their portfolios that they can grow with. But we can't get around the fact that training and experience on set making a movie is gatekept. You have to know somebody to even get in those rooms. And if you are the leader, but you've never been led, you've never been mentored in a professional capacity or underneath someone that has credentials, that lack of mentorship is going to show up and keep you on Tubi. A lot of us ain't go to school for this. A lot of us ain't have people to mentor us. And that is a quote from Dennis Reed II, who has made many a movie on Tubi. He really talks about highlighting the platform for emerging filmmakers. And when I think about Dennis's words, it actually makes me sad, because with all the criticism I could lob at Tubi or even other platforms that make this Tyler Perry-esque content, I really have to wrestle with my own perspective, my own ideas that just because something is not up to my standards doesn't mean that it isn't worth existing. Everything I'm saying is subjective. It's my opinion. It's very obvious that I have a bias for production and stories that are quality and that I care about. But I do have to go inward. And that's what I do all the time. If you're new here, welcome. This is what I do on my channel all the time, is I ask these questions, not just to you, but I'm asking them to myself, because I have to be very honest about where my frustration for Tubi comes from. Like, sure, I want us to have things that uplift and empower us. I want content that speaks to redemption and fruitful living, and not just more poison. Like, that is the nobler side of this. But I also want to be counted amongst a creative group that I think deserves more attention. I want all people to see diverse creators as worthy of watching and listening to and taking in. And if Black excellence is a myth, then I want Black joy that's healing. I'm just trying to drive home the fact that my whole heart is wrestling with what media is versus what it can be. I believe media has great power, and with great power comes even greater responsibility. So what is Tubi responsible for? Their initiatives, their studios, their bottom line, probably. What are you responsible for? What am I responsible for? I think we're responsible to decide what we take in and what we listen to and what we consume, and make sure that we're not only watching low-res stuff that's going to keep our perspective at a low-res place. Low-res, low quality. I think we're responsible for what comes out of our experiences and what we take in. And I guess I ask myself, like, is my work, is the work I do on this channel, is the work I do as a creative, is it reflective of what I want to see in media? Is it reflective of the redemption that I want to see? This video is not to condemn you if you just live for Tubi. Okay, go off. This video, I guess, is about how I'm evolving in my own artistic perspective, and I'm realizing that there's nuance in everything. If we take the good, high quality, highbrow stuff, we also sometimes have to take a look at the bad. But I do have to know, what is the best/worst movie that you've seen on Tubi? Tell me what it is and tell me why it is the best worst in the comments below. And I might, heavy on the might, go watch it. Now, thank you guys so much for sitting in and listening to me and walking through my thoughts. If this is your first time on the channel, first of all, welcome. The mode of video essays that I like to take is probably a little different than you're used to, but I pray that it feels conversational and that it's a good different. I also have to shout out my Patreon because they keep me going when I get into ruts of video ideas, but I am so grateful. If you want to support the channel, feel free to hop on over there. There's a link in my bio. I also just opened up a YouTube membership, so if you want to join right here, feel free to do so. All right, I think that's all. See you guys later.